Here you go, Abraham. Okay, class, we're going to start our presentation on literary devices. Are we ready? Good job. So what are literary devices? Literary devices are techniques that writers use to create a special and pointed effect in their writing, to deliver information, or to help readers understand their writing on a deeper level. So does anybody remember any examples of literary devices that we used in our pre-assessment the other day? Yes. Andy?
Sally sells seashells by the seashore.
Good job, Andy. But do you remember the element that went with that example?
I don't remember.
Alliteration. And that's one of the many examples that authors use throughout their writing. So why are literary devices important? Literary devices are important to know because they help you understand the motivation behind the author's choices. For example, being able to identify symbols in the story can help you figure out why the author might have chosen to insert these focal points and what they might suggest regarding their attitudes towards certain characters or even settings. If you were to read a story without knowing any literary devices, chances are you wouldn't be able to understand many of the layers and meanings intertwined throughout the story. So does anybody remember or know any books, short stories, articles, or even movies that have a literary device in it that without it you wouldn't know what it meant? Yes, Abraham.
Animal Farm.
Animal Farm. Good choice. Yes, perfect example. For those of you guys that don't know, Animal Farm is a book that uses personification. And personification is when the human qualities are given to a non-human thing. So in this case, in Animal Farm, the animals have human qualities such as talking and walking on 2 feet, which are things that animals usually don't quite really do. So now that we've gone over why we should spend more time learning literary devices, let's look at some of the most important literary elements to know. So I'm going to be passing this out. You are going to keep this in your notes. We're going to go through this whole page. These are some of the most common literary devices that we will see in authors' writings, such as in any articles, books, and etc. So I'm going to pass this out, and then we're going to start reading each and every one of them. Thank you. So I'll start by reading the first two, and if anybody would like to volunteer to read, you're more than welcome. So we're starting with alliteration. Alliteration is a repetition of similar sounds, generally at the beginning of the words, and usually by the means of consonants or consonant sound, clusters in a group of words. So this is a perfect example of what Andy gave us that was in our pre-assessment. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. That is alliteration, those similar sounds at the beginning of the words. Next one, allusion. In literature, there is a reference to another work. Next one, hyperbole. Would anybody like to read this one? Yes.
Hyperbole. Hyperbole is an exaggeration of fact used either for serious or comic effect.
Good job, Abraham. And yes, hyperbole, an example is her eyes are open wide as saucers. They're comparing her eyes to saucers. It's just an exaggeration, like it said. Next one, imagery. Imagery refers to the way words create or suggest pictures in the reader's minds. What we see, hear, smell, feel, or taste. Does any of those 5 things that I just read remind you of something? What we see, hear, yes.
The 5 senses.
Exactly. This is where your 5 senses come into place. The stunning blue water sparkled with brilliant clarity. they're comparing their sense of sight to looking at the water. Exactly. Another example is that I could smell the fresh flowers in the morning. You're using your sense of smell in that case. Next one, onomatopoeia. Would anybody like to read that one? Yes, Abraham.
Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is the use of a word in which the sound imitates or suggests its meaning.
Yes. And you'll see this a lot in children's books, in movies, anything in general. So this is where they use, for example, what's the sound that bee makes? Does anybody know the sound that bees make? Yes.
Buzz.
Yes, so that buzz, that buzzing sound, that's onomatopoeia, or when people use effects such as like clap and hiss. Those are all examples of onomatopoeia. Personification. A figure of speech in which something non-human is given human qualities. The gray mist on the sea's face. Another example of this was what Abraham told us. Animal Farm, where they did non-human qualities to an animal. So, next one. Simile. Would anybody like to read it? Yes, Andy.
A figure of speech comparing two extremes, unlike things thought, the use of words like or as. My love is like a rose.
Good job, Andy. Simile. A figure of speech comparing two essentially unlike things through the use of words like or as. Example, my love is like a rose. They're comparing their love to a rose using the words like or as. Next one, symbol. Any object, person, place, or action that has meaning in itself and that also stands for something larger than itself, such as quality, an attitude, a belief, or even value. Such as a rose is often a symbol of love, just how we saw that it was compared in simile. Good job, you guys. Remember to put this on your notes. So now that we've gone over some of the most common literary elements that we will see, we're now going to see how the authors use them in a short story. So I'm going to be passing out a short story that we're all going to read together, and we're going to highlight the literary element that is in the story. So make sure to listen while I'm reading, okay? I'm also going to pass out highlighters so you can highlight where the literary element is. Here you go, Andy. Abraham. And remember, if you can't see, it is always up in the board. Are we ready to begin? He always calls me his darling daughter, Dessa. I am supposed to answer that he is my dearest, delightful daddy. He calls Jimmy the genuine, gentle giant. And Jimmy's supposed to call him his fine, friendly father figure. Father also calls Mother the marvelous mammalian matriarch, but she says that she won't respond because she refuses to play silly word games with such a hard-headed husband who hasn't heard how horrible he is. Okay, so now that we have read this, what literary element do you think is in this passage? Anyone? Yes.
Alliteration.
Alliteration. Good job. And did you get that from your notes?
Mm-hmm.
Good job. So can anyone tell me what alliteration means? Yes, Abraham again.
Alliteration is a repetition of similar sounds, generally at the beginning of words and usually by means of consonants or consonant sound clusters in a group of words.
So we're looking for words that have the similar sounds with them next to each other. Like the example that Andy told us, Sally sells seashells in the seashore. So does anybody see any of these examples in the passage? Yes, Andy.
Find friendly father figure.
Good job, Andy. Find friendly father figure. They all have that sound of. Any other ones? Yes.
Darling daughter Deza.
Good. That D sound. That D. Darling daughter Dessa. I also see dearest delightful daddy. Again, we're seeing that similar sound in the words. Any other ones? Yes.
Jimmy the genuine, gentle jumping giant.
Good job. That was a hard one to say. Jimmy the gentle, genuine, jumping giant. I also see another one. Marvelous mammalian matriarch. They all have that same consonant. And last one but not least that we see is hard-headed husband who hasn't heard how horrible he is. Those similar sounds in it. And again, that is just the repetition of the similar sounds. If anybody did not get to highlight any of the examples of the literary element, they're right here on the board if anybody needs them. Good job, everyone. You can put those in your notes as well, just as an example or a reference. Thank you.